you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure?
I feel like I gotta pee, but
I am so glad we were live when
I
you
mean,
said that.
do I have time? Do I have time to go pee? I mean, I know we've
I am
started.
so
I feel like
glad
we've
we were
started, but
live when you said that.
really, oh my god, would you stop Don Darrowing
Hello.
me, please?
Hey, you do it to me all the
I do.
time,
I do. You're
so
right. I do it to you
you
all
know
the
what?
time.
Screw you. It's fine. Hello everyone,
What?
and welcome to Waking Up with Nana and PepPep. I am a
If
Roogs
I've
from
gotta
the
pee.
internet, which makes that intro so much funnier. If you don't know
Mm-hmm.
why that's funny, go to my TikTok, Nerd Mom Ace, and watch my latest one. That shit's funny. That shit hits funny.
It does.
I'm a Roogs from the internet, and with me is my wonderful co-host Sean, also known as PepPep or the producer slash the producer.
Slash
And
whatever you want to call me.
I mean, I call you a lot of things. None of them are very
You do.
good.
No, they're not. We've known each other too long.
We have. This is our podcast about recovering from religious trauma. You know, sort of, we grew up in the Southern Baptist Church, and Sean and I had very similar backgrounds. And this is our show about deconstructing our religious beliefs and reconstructing ourselves as a good human beings. So,
Mhm.
here is our disclaimer. Here
Disclaim
on
away.
Waking Up with Nana and
Mhm.
PepPep, we support all faiths and religions. We think religions and faith are beautiful things when done in a mentally and emotionally healthy way. However, we feel that currently there are some sects of certain religions that have certainly distorted that point of view. And so we don't agree with that. And we are not licensed therapists. Sean and I, no.
Lots of therapy, not licensed
Lots,
therapist.
yeah, lots of therapy. That's exactly. I feel like that should go in. Lots of
That needs
therapy,
to be a
not therapists.
tagline.
Yeah.
Yes, the Nana and PepPep tagline. Lots of therapy, not
We are not licensed therapists or counselors. If you are in need of some professional help, we certainly have resources to get you that help that you need. Through our charity and through a lot of people we just know. We have, Dr.
We
Miko
know
is a
people.
thing. We know
We
people.
do. Hmm.
And
And
actually,
I have a. Mhm.
I got told today, or not today, I got told like earlier this week, the government starting a 988 for mental health.
What's
It's
that?
like
What's 988?
it's like 911 except for mental health, 988. So I haven't
Oh,
tried it or tested it yet, but
wow.
I feel like that's at least something that we should look into. But yeah,
Yeah, I would totally agree because 911 isn't set up to deal with mental health.
mm-mm.
They're just
But this is, yeah.
dispatchers.
So we're gonna look into that for you, but on
Yeah,
for more of our disclaimer because it gets longer every week.
that's what she said.
No, see, now I lost my
Eh,
place. Not counselors.
eh.
Oh, okay. So Sean and I grew up
We
in the SBC, also known as the Southern Baptist Convention. We often refer to it as a cult. Some people are going to wonder why we refer to it as a cult. Look up what's characteristics a cult has, and then look up the Southern Baptist doctrine. They are very
a
similar. So we
lot of
interchange
overlap. The
them.
Venn
A lot
diagram.
of overlap. So if
Mm,
we refer to it as a cult or whatnot, that is what we are. And this is just us. We didn't realize until we started this
mm-mm.
podcast really how deep our religious trauma went and how much it affected our lives. So thank you guys, community,
Yeah.
for following us on our journey to discovering how fucked up we really are. Awesome. Great.
Mm,
Let's get started.
fantastic. Hey,
Yay!
Roogs. Hey, Blue Ellie. We got some people in our chat. Flavored Mayhem. Thanks for joining us this
Hello.
morning. Hope you got your coffee because we got you plenty of trauma for you.
We got some trauma for you. We hang
We
it in.
do.
And
We
all
do.
those people I know in our chat, I'm like, hey, I know that Anyway,
You know the drama there.
yeah,
Mhm.
we're gonna go that. All right, so I do this
We're taking
disclaimer. What are we doing today,
am
John?
I supposed to start? Am I supposed to initiate this? Okay. Well, we're following up. We're taking another crack at worshiping me. Worship my body. No, wait, that's not right. My body's a temple. My body's a temple. That's it. What? Uh worship my temple body. So this one we've titled, or we've said, if it feels good, stop. Because growing up in the SBC, growing up the way we did, that kind of summarizes everything.
Pretty much
Everything that we were
everything
taught. Yeah. Oh, that thing feels good. Yeah, you probably shouldn't do that. No, you shouldn't
except
be
for
doing that.
eating. Except for eating.
No. Well, because we're in the South, how can you imagine what would happen if they tried to talk about that? That would not go well. Yep.
Overindulgence because gluttony isn't a thing, but whatever. Okay, I'm not even gonna go into
Yes.
that. All right.
Wait, are you saying that they picked and chose what they paid attention to and what they emphasized?
I
What?
am.
No.
And with that, we're gonna start our first one.
Hmm.
We're gonna
All
start.
right.
Okay, we're gonna talk about vices. Basically, vices.
That you're right. That's what is what we're talking about.
So we're talking about
Hmm.
vices because trust me,
We have a few. There are a few.
and I
We
participated
know
in
some
most of
people.
these. So,
Most.
so the
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
on the first vice that we're going to talk about that we find that's very hypocritical, especially in the Southern Baptist Church and just in our churches in general, smoking. Like cigarette smoking. We'll get to the other smoking
Yes.
in a minute, but
Yeah.
smoking
We'll get there.
cigarettes.
Hmm.
Like
So many people do that one. So many people in the church do that
so
one.
many, like we had a smoking area. Like
Yeah.
people were standing
Hmm.
on the
Yes.
church steps just smoking their cigarettes. Like
Yes.
that was like a
It used to
thing.
be. This kind of followed other, not just the church, but the smoking area used to actually be the front of the church. When I was growing up, it was the front door was the smoking area. We had massive concrete planters. The church I grew up, I spent the first several years of my life in, massive concrete planters up on these concrete steps. And that's where you put your cigarette. That's where you drop your cigarette. So I was right there in front of the double doors. Yeah.
Ours was a
And
because we
then
had a side.
mhm.
We had a side. Ours was over near the side entrance, but that's where you dropped
See,
off all the old ladies. Like that was where because it was the
oh,
drive-through where you dropped all the
yes.
old ladies off because we didn't have.
Right.
So that's where you stood to smoke.
See, it starts in the front, and then over the years, it started to drift off to the side. When I left, it had migrated to the back of the church.
Oh, what? They're trying to hide all that shit? Stop it.
No. You mean they
We're
still
not
allowed it, but
oh,
they tried
Bonnie,
to
we're
hide
not
it?
judging the smoker. Wait, that
Oh,
wait,
no, no, no,
no.
no, no.
No,
We're
no, no.
judging the hypocrisy of how we grew up and the perceptions of certain things.
Yes. But it
Um,
wasn't a big deal. That was like,
yeah.
we're talking about our bodies a temple, how we can't have tattoos, and then like all
Mhm.
of these other vices that we're gonna go into about how we can't have
Yeah.
that. But it was okay to smoke. It was
Yeah.
okay to smoke. Like,
Yes. One of the deacons in the church owned a tobacco farm. So that's how far we went. I mean, again, this is out in, just like you did. We were both kind of out in rural areas. So,
yeah.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah,
And so it was
smoking
just a
smoking
thing.
was totally glossed over. No, it wasn't. No, you didn't really talk about that because you start talking about smoking and smoking being bad. I mean, half your church, especially your leaders, your leadership were often the smokers.
But that well, yes, I wonder why.
Hmm.
They were also the drinkers, but we're not getting into that one yet.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
but it was societal. Do you realize how but even still, I mentioned my kids go sing in the church choir and at a local church. They're still smoking like the columns that you put your butts in, and then there's still smoking places outside of like some of the entrances. So it's not like it's
Hmm.
completely gone away.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that's sort of accepted. It's just
Mhm.
accepted. People are gonna smoke, and that's not a big deal.
So so the yeah, the church didn't really do anything about the smoking thing. They didn't really say anything about it because everybody else did. But what about your family? How did your family deal with smoking?
My girl, okay, let me paint a picture for you. Let me paint a picture
Oh,
for you.
yes.
Yes, are you ready?
Word
Okay.
pictures.
When
Yes, give it to
I
us.
think of my grandmother, okay, when I think of her, because she died when I was about 9 or 10, when I think about her,
Mhm.
I think every morning because she woke up ass crack of dawn, and she had one of those pedestal ashtrays, like the wooden one that like were freestanding. So she had this wooden rocking chair, this like padded rocking chair,
Mhm.
and you could walk into the kitchen, and this was her silhouette. She had her coffee over here. She had her Marlboro Gold
Yes.
100 in her
Yes.
hand,
She went
in
all out.
like this, and she had her smutty dirty novel like reading it, and she just rocked
My l
every day all day. Like that was
Just
these.
fantastic, just rock. What is it about the coffee and the cigarette? Like, that is cliche,
Okay,
practically.
first off, as a former smoker, I mean, I smoke occasionally now, but as a smoker,
Mhm.
like there is something that hits different about a cigarette and like caffeine and nicotine. Oh, it hits different. It
It's
no. See,
does
you
it hit
never
different?
smoke, so you don't
No.
know. It is just that something about the coffee and the nicotine in the morning. It's just it hits different. It's different. It just hits
Blue
different.
Ellie, we're gonna need you to weigh in on this one. Does it hit different?
This hits
Mhm.
shit.
Mhm. So I grew up, yeah, church people in church smoked whatever. But coffee plus so but for my family, smoking was not an option. Most people in my family didn't. There was very few people in my family that smoked. Nobody in my immediate family did. So it was smoking was not a thing for my family. I was not. No, you do not smoke. You don't smoke. Um, I think my brother like may have smoked like casually, but he wasn't a smoker. Um, my little brother wasn't. None of us were smokers. So it was smoke. Even though the church didn't really seem to care about it, my parents had a firm belief that you don't smoke, and that was unlike things we'll get into. Smoking really wasn't a thing for me growing up. I didn't really have a desire to. I wasn't interested in it. I didn't.
I
I didn't.
I didn't
Mhm.
I didn't start smoking like even though like my stepdad smoked, my grandmother smoked
Mhm.
like trains, my dad smoked at the time. Like my dad smoked, like everybody
Mhm.
smoked. That was like a
Yeah.
thing. Because I was a
Yeah.
musician, because I was like what I was very anti-smoking up
Mhm.
until I left Western in 2006, and
Mhm.
I'm like I can't afford alcohol, so I'm gonna like I started smoking then, and then that became a thing for
Ah,
me for a
gotcha.
while. A long time.
Okay.
So,
So you became a smoker.
I became a smoker. I didn't it was just yeah, I became a smoker.
Just it was just a thing to do.
Right? Right?
It's good.
Oh, it is good.
Oh,
Yeah. Uh,
oh
something
my
about it.
god.
It hits so good. So satisfying, that first cigarette of the day. Oh, like I'm a tolerable
You're
person,
top.
right?
Are you Blue Ellie?
Oh, see, you live near him. You go kill him.
Well, she's saying she's tolerable after the morning smoke and the coffee. That's the
She's
tolerable part.
tolerable
Because I'm not very
anytime. We don't say that about Blue
really.
Ellie.
I,
Yes. No.
I'm not tolerable until I've had the coffee. I don't do the smokes,
You're
but I
not
do the
tolerable
coffee.
most days.
Well, that's pretty accurate. I'm not tolerable after the coffee either.
I love
So, there. Oh my god.
you. Okay, so moving
Yes.
on. Moving on. You weren't a big smoker either. Like that's what you were gonna say.
Yeah, there's a few times where I smoked. I smoked a few cigars. I smoked. the closest I got to smoking like regularly was when I was working in cashiers, and me and one of the other guys used to go to the local country club. There's like 7 country clubs. We used to go to one of them after work. We started going like a couple times a week, and we would drink, have a couple drinks after work. And he was a big smoker, and so I actually would smoke while I drank a couple times, but it wasn't really ever a thing for me.
Body's threatening you.
Uh, yeah, yeah. Blue Ellie doesn't know where I live. Okay, moving
Yeah.
on. Moving right
Yeah.
along.
Speaking of having
A drink, yeah.
drinks and
You like the
cigarettes,
segue? Mhm.
let's I like that. It was good. I was very
Ooh,
proud of you on that one.
yeah.
Segues aren't good segues if you point them out, but whatever.
It's fine, it's fine, it's all good.
It's fine.
They're fun to ride.
Alcohol.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So
the
we're like,
alcohol.
smoking's not an issue. Like, smoke the 100s, whatever you got. Like, that's fine.
Mhm.
But don't you dare drink alcohol. Now, there are
Right.
some sects of the Protestant church, there are some denominations who don't
Mhm,
think that drinking alcohol is wrong. I know that Catholicism doesn't like I think Lutherans
mhm.
don't care
Yeah.
and
The farther you
Methodists are
get,
wishy-washy. Yeah, no.
yeah, it's the farther you get from, so when if you look at it as a spectrum, the closer you are to Catholicism, the less they care. The more you get to like fundamentalist and Southern Baptist, they really care.
Yeah,
So yeah, and there's a whole lot in between.
right. So that's why when we have communion, it was grape juice.
Grape juice.
It was
Oh
grape
my god, the
juice.
grape juice. Uh, Maybe that's why I have a thing for grape juice. I don't know, maybe because grape juice was, yes, like I love grape juice. It was, yes.
Of
Maybe
course
that's
you do. Of
connected.
course
I
you
don't
do.
know.
Of course you do.
I do have a thing for grape juice. I love grape juice.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, grape juice, for some reason, grape juice at when I grew up was a special thing. Like
Because it
we
was
didn't
trained to you because you were Pavlov's dog and you were trained that it was a special thing at
in the church, so
church
it's
because
special.
it was communion
Yes,
day. It was communion day, and you
yes.
knew when they
You got
had
a
the
little
little
cracker
trays
and some
when they
grape
had the
juice.
trays out. Did yours had
The
the silver
massive,
trays?
massive trays. Like if you
Trays?
were a kid, you didn't touch things because you knew you were gonna drop it. So you're just like the parents like help hand it off to the next person. The monster trays. I remember those.
But don't you dare.
Yeah. So yes, alcohol was a very different thing
Mhm.
in the Southern Baptist Church,
Oh, you just don't do it.
and in my family.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
My family too. My
The,
family too. Like, don't no alcohol. I don't like I seriously there was none in my house. Now, granted, my stepdad was a recovering alcoholic, so that's one reason we didn't have it. But even before my mom married my stepdad, um, you right, Calvino. So even before my
Absolutely.
mom married my stepdad, there was no alcohol, none in my house. And here's the thing is I remember very distinctly because when my uncle lived in Chicago for a time, my grandmother took me or my sister, like she took us separately. And she took us to Chicago. And we were having Chicago deep dish pizza. And my uncle ordered a pitcher of beer. And so my grandmother started
Hmm.
like was drinking this beer out of like this big mug. And I remember I had to be like 7, 8, like little. And I looked at her and go, Grammy, you're drinking a beer. And she just looked at me and going, yeah. What I didn't realize is my grandmother was a bit of a hoe and a drinker.
What? What? No.
So one mug of beer was not a big deal. Discovered that later in life, but
One mug of beer was like breakfast.
this time. Oh Lord, we had a beer tent at our Catholic church festival.
Mm,
See, that's
yeah,
not the
very
way
different.
we grew
Very
up.
different.
Very
No,
different. And
al-
alcohol was
alcohol's
not it.
bad.
Bad.
Mm-mm.
Bad. Like
Yep. Yeah, but even though it was preached that alcohol was bad, the same people were in the grocery store buying alcohol. No one just it was That's one thing that's really just frustrates me about growing up is so many people did it, but then denied it. Everyone was hiding that fact. Instead of being open and honest and talking about it, everyone was hiding it. So it became this, oh, don't do it.
I have a funny
Which,
joke. I have a funny joke
oh
that
God,
literally offended like half of my sorority sisters at Western that because I had
fantastic.
posted it on my AIM.
Let's do it.
Okay. Um, Protestants do not believe in the Pope as the leader of the church.
Hmm.
Jews do not. No, no. Protestants do not recognize the Pope as the leader of the church. Jews do not recognize
Hmm.
Jesus Christ as God's savior. And Southern
Hmm.
Baptists don't recognize each other in the liquor store and Hooters.
That is absolutely true. I don't know that person. I don't know that person. Don't look at me. That is so very true.
And I
Yeah.
remember getting so many hate messages. This is offensive. I'm like, but
But
it's
it's
true. It's
true.
funny. Like
It's
they don't
absolutely
recognize each
true.
other. They're like
Mm-mm.
putting it in a cart, covering
I
it.
got this case of beer. Yeah, but don't nobody knows me. Yeah, if you saw someone you recognized, you kind of like went to the other line. You went to the far line.
Or you cover it up in your
Yeah.
cart, like trying to buy that case of beer, or like, yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, and growing and the family was the same way. You didn't drink alcohol. Alcohol was a massive no-no. Hey, Shifty.
You right, Shifty Bricks. You right.
Uh, yes, that's true. Yes, everyone did it. Nobody talked about it.
hmm I yeah, nobody drank. Like nobody drank. And I remember as I was getting older, like
Hmm.
yeah. So I started drinking when I was
Hmm.
underage, when I shouldn't have been.
Shocker.
I know, me doing things. And I remember my my drink of choice was
Hmm.
the fuzzy navel. And I would
I
get like
got
the
a story
peach
for
schnapps,
you.
peach schnapps
Yeah.
and orange juice, but I would put
Uh-huh.
what was it? The pierced fuzzy navel. I found out there was actual where I thought I was being all smart and inventing these things, but this was before the
Uh-huh.
internet and you found out that shit. But I would put vodka in it. So I would put vodka and peach schnapps and orange juice, and that's what I like. I that's what I used to drink all the time back. Yeah, and then I got to college.
Mhm.
Well, there was one time I drank Jack Daniel's straight from the bottle, but I don't remember
Mhm.
much
And how
from
did that work
that.
out for you?
I
Mhm.
feel like I got slung over someone's shoulder and rescued because I was being stupid.
Yeah, that may have happened. Yes, it may be a thing.
Trauma. I was drinking my trauma away. I feel like that was a time where
You
I was like, it was really bad
yes.
at home, and I was like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, and I was like, no, I'm gonna and just turning it up because I'm
Sorry.
usually not a
And my
straight drinker.
yeah. So my computer just all of a sudden freaked out.
Oh, really? Because I can see you. I can hear you.
Oh, yeah, I think it was trying to go to sleep. I need to do something about that. All right. No, I could hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, you drinking charm away?
Drinking my trauma away when I was a teen. Shut up.
Mhm. Right.
Well, getting rickety wrecked, I guess.
Oh my god. So I didn't smoke. So alcohol was my rebellion. That's where I went to when it came time to rebel against the parents, rebel, the strict Southern Baptist upbringing. Um, I started with I don't remember how I got them. I'm sure there was someone my girlfriend's. It may have been my girlfriend's older siblings got it. Either way, my first drinking were Bartles and James wine coolers.
I didn't even go that route. I did
That's the route I went for a while.
a while.
That was yeah, like that was like until I could buy it myself. Yes, it was wine coolers. It was Smirnoff Ice, it was Bartles and James.
Oh, hold on a second.
Right? That was my drinking light. That was my rebellious light. So like
You rebelled via Zima.
actually I never was a big fan of Zemu, but point taken.
Uh, that's
Yeah,
fine.
it was the BJ's. Yeah, the Bartles and James, the Smirnoff. Okay, I probably shouldn't say that. That's a whole different thing. Um,
Phrasing, Sean.
BJ's were my rebellious phase. No,
Mhm. Mine too, but that was a totally different one.
that's a different. Yeah, we that's a different episode. Smirnoff Ice, yes.
Yes.
Um, I didn't like the taste of beer, so it was wine coolers. I didn't have access to the hard stuff like you did. I don't know what propelled. I don't know why I did this. What brought me to do this? But I had this water bottle, this plastic water bottle, and I put one of the a fuzzy navel, one of the Bartles and James fuzzy navel wine coolers in this water bottle and took it to school. And I drank it and I drank it during school. Didn't get caught. Yeah, you're learning stuff. You didn't know that, did you?
No, I didn't know that. Does his face look like somebody?
Mhm.
First off.
Mhm. Mhm.
How often do you wash that your vajayjay? Like, because let's talk about the fact that you drank wine coolers for like 5 years. Let's talk about that. I like, did.
Are you emasculating me because I drink wine coolers because that's what I had access to?
No,
Really?
I
Is
would
that
never
is that
do
what's
that.
happening
I
here?
would never do
No,
that.
no, no.
I'm
I
just
mean,
kidding. I'm
but
just kidding.
I kept it. I kept it clean. I
You
kept it
kept it
kept it
clean.
tight
You
ship.
did. I'm proud of
Kept it
you.
clean. I
You
did.
you were
Yeah.
you were a good
Mhm.
boy. You only
Just a good
rebelled a
boy.
little bit. You rebelled a
Just
little
a bit.
bit.
I
You
was a
didn't jump.
rebellious light.
You
I
rebellious
didn't
light.
know.
I,
Rebellious
I,
light. Yep.
yeah.
But my family, it was alcohol was evil. Alcohol was bad. Never was like you drink alcohol. That's the devil. But it was well, actually that kind of was. It wasn't like you're going to go to hell, but it was alcohol is a slippery slope. It's terrible. It's drunk driving. Here's what happens if you drink and drive. All of the
You would be an alcoholic. Like it
yes.
was if you drank it was just like they did with like the porn and the drugs and everything. It was an extreme. You weren't just going to like do it. It was the moment you do it, it was you're the
Hmm.
worst that you could possibly think of. If you have
Yes.
sex, you're a whore. If you have
Yes.
alcohol, you're an alcoholic. If you watch
Alcoholic.
porn,
Hmm.
you're addicted to it. If you smoke pot or take
Hmm.
THC, you're a drug addict. Like it was always
Yes.
the extreme. It was
Extreme.
never and there
If
was
you
no real.
did a thing,
No,
hmm?
go ahead.
If you do a thing, you are that thing.
Right.
That's the message that they push to you. So you were like, "Oh my god, I can't do that because if I do that, I'm going to be that horrible person, that whatever. I'm going to be that far flung outlier or
And
whatever."
you firmly
And
believe
so,
that. You firmly
oh
believe that.
yeah, yes, absolutely. Hmm. So, yeah, so abstained from the alcohol for a while until I found the wine coolers. Hmm. And I've
But
recovered since then, by the way.
yeah, except like, okay, so we say that to like thing. I left the church. I did the thing.
Hmm.
I learned to drink. I actually drink more now than I was in Texas. Now that and then I did North Carolina because we're in the Bible Belt, but sort of out of that Bible Belt.
Hmm.
And drinking is like smoking. Drinking here for Christians is not a big deal. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Whereas
Hmm.
back home it was a big deal. So they considered drinking sort of like smoking. So I learned how to actually drink real liquor, like
Yeah,
instead of just the cheap shit, you know?
that's the problem. That's the problem with that. It's the same as the abstinence only, the purity culture. It's the if everything you're taught about this thing is bad, there's a point where you reject that. There's a
Mhm,
point where you go, seriously, it's black and white. Is it really black and white? And so you do something, but you don't know how to do it responsibly. You're never taught how to deal with it responsibly. You're not taught you're not taught what your limits are. You just kind of dive into it. And then the problem is if you do when you do dive into it, yes, you can do something wrong. You can consume more than you should because you don't know what your threshold is. And so that bad thing that they're warning you of could happen, but but it's not because that the thing is bad. It's because you don't know how to handle it. You don't know how to be
and
responsible
yeah,
for it.
and then that's I think a lot of, you swing the other way, like the whole denial of a thing. It's a
Mhm.
self-fulfilling prophecy. It's one of those, you take
Yep.
that one bad time, or because you weren't taught how to, or you weren't
Mhm.
being responsible or whatnot, then they can,
Mhm.
your brain, because they've taught you how to gaslight yourself, they've taught you and
Yes.
trained you so that they don't have to do any work anymore. You're
Mhm.
doing it yourself.
Yep.
So the bad thing that
Absolutely.
happened, like you're hungover or you're drunk or you end up making a bad decision, and you wake up and you, in your head, the first thought is, see, this is why they tell you not to do it.
Mhm.
See, instead of going,
Yep.
oh, okay, so I made a bad choices. How can I do, like, no, that's not how you're taught to think. You're taught, see, that right there,
Yep.
that's why you were told not to do it, and you should be ashamed. And then you follow with the guilt
Oh,
and
and
the
the
shame.
guilt. Yes.
Yeah.
That's always what happened. Yeah. And even if something really bad didn't happen, you still end up carrying that guilt and shame with you because you're like, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that. That was wrong. That was bad." So you start feeling remorseful, but you know it really wasn't, but that's what you've been taught to believe.
Mhm.
Yeah, I carry that with me. Just that, and you kind of end up living with shame and guilt on a
And you
daily
didn't wanna
basis.
drink in front of your parents? Like, I think the
Oh
first
yeah.
time I drank in front of
Yes.
my parents, I was, like, well into my late 20s. Like, my
Mhm.
dad was a different thing because he wasn't in the church, but before I drank in front of my stepdad or my mom, I remember just, like, just a glass of wine, and it was like, "Oh my god."
What?
Like, it's like, that's, you didn't do it, like, you didn't want them to,
Mm.
but I
What
had,
would they
okay,
think?
right. So, John,
Yes. Arugs.
you never really drank until the pandemic.
That's correct.
Why'd you talk
Mhm.
about that? I'm not gonna let
Do
this
do
area
we do
I'm not gonna
we
let
is
this
that
area slide. No!
mm, I mean, I
No!
guess that could be considered I guess that
No!
could be
I'm not gonna let
related.
that one go.
So,
Not gonna let that one go. Let's go. Because it does do
when
with
you
your
get
trauma. The whole
it
reason you
does.
didn't
It
get
actually
drunk is because of
does,
your
yes.
trauma. So go.
So, why so what why was alcohol bad? Why was drinking bad? Why was that lesson taught? Well, it was taught because, drinking, if you drink, you will become drunk. Like, again, no gray area. So you drink, you're drunk, and drunkenness was specifically called out in the Bible. And it was back in Noah when Noah got drunk, and that was like, oh, if you do something like that, that is God can't you can't be a Christian and get drunk, and if you drink, you're drunk. And so when you grow up in the church and you rebel by drinking, drinking's not so bad. The rationale you create is, well, drinking isn't so bad, but as long as I just don't get drunk. So then that becomes your level, your line in the sand, because you're like, well, drinking can't be bad. I just won't get drunk. I just won't get drunk
Just the tip.
because
Just the tip. Just the
just the
tip.
tip, just the
Just the
tip.
tip.
I'm just gonna stick it in just a little bit.
Just the tip.
Yeah, it's like soaking. It's just a little bit.
Just
Um, as long as I don't get drunk. And so that stuck with me for a long
Yeah,
time.
shifty bricks.
Mhm. Working at restaurants is why I think a lot of people smoke, because it is the thing to do and it's how you get breaks. If you don't smoke, you don't get a break, and that's a whole soapbox that I could get into from working
Okay.
in the restaurant industry, but I'm not going to.
Okay.
So I wouldn't get drunk. So I never got drunk until a couple years ago. Yeah. So I never had what some people call the college experience.
Because Sean was the one that never got drunk. So he took care of
Mhm.
everybody. He was the
Yes.
responsible one. He was always
I was the driver.
he never got
Mhm.
drunk ever. And
Yes,
so
I was afraid that if I got drunk, I would go in some wild, crazy something behavior and
what? You
completely lose
overthought it?
control.
Stop it.
Did
What?
what? Did I over? No, that doesn't sound
So
like me at
I'm gonna
all.
paint this picture for you folks. So I'm sitting here. I think I had done it was pandemic. It was the pandemic. And so
Mhm.
we had done uh we actually had this like group of friends. There was the four of us who would do video calls, and so we decided, like, I was grabbing liquor and I was like, so what kind of liquors
Mhm.
do you have? Like, because I was drinking something because everybody drank during the pandemic. And Sean's like, here. And it was like a half a bottle of Fireball, and I think some type of Captain Morgan's rum, but it was like this much that his ex-wife left in the cabinet, and it was like in a cabinet, and I went, yeah, but
I
and
got
he's like,
judged really
yeah.
harshly
And I was
for
like,
my
you're
alcohol.
over 40. Like, do you not like to drink? Like, if you don't like to drink, if that's a thing, that's great. He goes, no, I like to drink. I just don't get drunk. And I was like, so
Mhm.
wait. And so I
Yes.
literally made a list for him. And I went, go
She
into the
did.
liquor store, go to the ABC store, and you need to
I
buy
was
all of these things.
I was like a little kid with a note pinned to my shirt going, "This is what mommy told me to get. This is what I need." That's what I felt like going in, and because I walk in, I didn't spend a lot of time in a alcohol store because I didn't buy a lot of liquor. So I walk in, I don't have a clue where anything's at.
And he's like
So I walk
texting
in like
me.
a
He's so nervous. He's like nervous.
I
He is
am.
terrified of this liquor store. And I'm like, it's
By the way, I am
fine.
like 40 at this point. We're not talking 20. I'm like 40 when this happens.
I'm like, it's fine. Just go and pick up, like, they like ask somebody to help you. It's fine. He's like, what if somebody sees me? So the fuck what? Like, the assembly, you right.
Yes, the assembly. Mhm. So
Many
I've got this
calls that we
list
got
of
really
stuff, and
drunk
I'm
on.
oh my god, Jay, Jay, Jay received one of those calls.
Jay did receive one of those
Yeah,
calls.
Jay did.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So you decided it was your mission to give me the college experience,
Even virtually. I did it because it was the
even
pandemic.
virtually.
So I was
Yes.
like, you have to
Ah,
get drunk. He's like, no, 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 no. I don't like the taste of alcohol. I was like, that's fine. There are configurations where
mask
you
it.
don't
Yeah.
taste it.
I the I did not leave the church until recently. So most of the people that I knew that I hung out with were people from church who didn't drink that much either. They didn't drink beer and stuff, but no one was like a liquor. No one that I hung out with was big into liquors. So I never learned it from anyone. And the person I married, my ex, she grew up in a Pentecostal church, even more fundamentalist than Southern Baptist. So she didn't have any
Right,
of that
Calvino.
knowledge either.
He said college drunk is the best time
Yeah,
ever.
I missed it. I missed all that. I missed all that, Calvino. So I never really learned what was good, what was not good, how to do it, what mixes, and I was completely oblivious to this world of.
Because he thought, like,
spirits.
he literally he was still, like, because he was still attending church at the time. Like, I'm telling you, he's still
Yes.
attending church. And I'm going,
Mhm.
"You're not gonna go to hell. It is liquor and getting drunk, you're fine. You are fine." And he's like,
But
"Well," I'm like,
I can't get drunk. Oh god, so
because
adamant.
with Sean, if you guys haven't figured this out,
Mhm.
with Sean, it's all about maintaining control. And
Control.
at the it was
What? No, you're telling
no,
all my
stop it.
secrets. You're
I
telling
know.
all my secrets.
That was very important to him, was that he's like,
Mhm.
I don't want to lose control. I'm like, you're
Yes.
in your
I don't
own
wanna lose
house
control, but
by
I think I like
yourself.
it.
By
Mhm.
yourself. So what? And that was very hard for him. Like,
To just
he's
let go of control?
right,
Yes.
right.
Mhm.
So I opened him up to the world of getting drunk, and how getting drunk
Mhm.
responsibly is not a bad thing. And then he stopped going to church and realized that, well, the church was wrong about a lot of things. So
Right, Calvino? Exactly. It's a shocker. That is a absolute shocker, isn't it? No.
Ooh.
What? So, yeah.
And I remember my birthday. So Sean, Miko, and John came to my birthday. And so we hung out at their hotel. Now, again, reminder, Sean literally had been drinking like 6 months, maybe. Like, no, he didn't drink. He didn't get drunk. So he and Don Darrow bought this bottle of like watermelon bourbon or whiskey, like this watermelon whiskey. And it's
Mhm.
not one of the small bottles, it's like a bottle. I remember I'm drinking responsibly. I'm getting drunk, but I'm not like, I know my limits. I know I've learned how my body feels. I turn around and here is Pep Pep with the bottle turned up. And I'm going,
It was good stuff.
I literally took the bottle from him and went, Have you had any water?" Like, it was like this much. And nobody had drunk it but him. I literally grabbed the bottle and put it down and went, "I think
Well,
you need some water."
I I vaguely remember you going, "What are you mixing that with?"
Yes.
I went, "Nothing. Saliva. That's what I'm mixing it with." And she went, and the bottle was almost empty.
Yes,
You're
and
like,
I
"Oh,
went,
Lord."
"And you're done, okay," and that's how he
Yeah.
does not
Mhm,
remember
mhm.
seeing Don Darrow's bean pic.
They swear I looked at it. I have no
Oh, you
recollection of
not
seeing
only
that.
looked at it, you admired it. You were like,
Did
you had
I?
commentary. Yeah,
No
totally did.
no recollection. No, none whatsoever.
But what we're trying to say is that for me, because I was actually using alcohol to mask some, especially growing up, I was using it to recover from the church. Sean actually, up until recently, alcohol was a vice and a bad thing that you didn't touch. Like, you just didn't.
Yes. Mhm. Because you lose control, you wouldn't be yourself. You could, do something stupid. So it was always that the worst things. You don't want to be drunk. Again, the whole idea of don't be drunk. Being drunk is bad. Carried with me till the 40s. Yeah, stuff
Yeah.
sticks with you for a while.
It does stick with you for a while. Like
Hmm.
other things, such as the devil's lettuce. Well, we're going to
The
call it
devil's
that.
lettuce,
We're
yes.
gonna
The
call it
devil's
that,
lettuce.
and we realize that it is
Mhm.
legal in some states and illegal in others, and
Mhm.
we're gonna keep it at that.
Mhm.
It's a coping mechanism for me.
Kobe.
Amen.
Yeah. Mhm.
Shh. This is not coffee. No, no, it's really.
I mean, it is coffee, but there's not just coffee.
Oh my God, marijuana. That was like
Oh my.
the gateway drug. That was the
Yes.
drug. Like, that was the
Mhm.
drug. Like, you didn't touch it. You didn't try,
No, no,
like,
no.
nothing. Drugs in
Marijuana
general.
was, yeah, especially marijuana was just like a hop away from crack, cocaine, doing
Back
you're
alley.
gonna smoke pot and then you're gonna do an eight
Yeah.
ball. right? That was the progression of the night.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
And it was just you didn't do it. And I still to this day, like, and the irony of it all is you could get just as addicted, and you do, to things that are prescribed to you by doctors.
Yeah.
You're gonna go to jail if you do
Mhm.
weed. Yes. And like I
Mhm. It'll
remember
ruin your life.
it'll ruin your life. And I
Mhm.
remember growing up, and that is just drinking was like part of the teenage rebellious thing, but it like you absolutely never, ever, ever touched marijuana. You never touched weed.
Mhm.
Never. Like that was, and I didn't for the longest
Mhm.
time. I did
Yep.
not. I remember I
Those
dated
people.
those people, those
Mhm.
people.
Yep.
And I remember I dated a couple guys in high school and in college who were smokers. And I remember just being like, "Oh my god, like you don't seem like a bad person, but I what?" Like I like being just
The
mortified.
That happened to me in my mid-30s. Someone that I had known for several years, um, yeah. So someone I'd known for several years, when I was in my mid-30s, I found out, smoked pot on a regular basis, and it floored me. Like, I immediately began judging them for it. But up until that point, like, this person was not your stereotypical. This was not. This was, when you think of, that's one thing that when you're younger, we're taught that what a pothead looks like, what someone that smokes pot is a pothead or is addicted, and they have that glazed over look and that very cliche. I always saw someone like that. If you smoke pot, this is who you are.
And you think about the people with the piercings and the tattoos, and you sort of group them all
Hmm.
together.
Yes,
Like, that's
yes, you
what
do.
we were taught. Like, it was not a set, like, it wasn't just you saw the individual, it was a group.
Hmm.
Like, it was like at
Yes.
in the church, those people were like on their own, like over here, this group.
Hmm. Yeah, and you don't associate with them. You keep those people at a distance. And
Mhm.
so to find out that someone that I knew was friends with, they smoked pot on a regular basis. I'm like, that came smack dab into my. I didn't realize how hard it would, but it ran smack dab into my upbringing, my trauma. And I'm
Mhm.
going, and so I had to sit there and try to consolidate that and come to grips with this idea that this isn't a bad person. This person likes to smoke pot. This
Mhm.
person was successful in all areas of their life. But all of that was tainted when I found out they smoke pot. That's not okay to judge
What?
someone like that, right?
Judging
But that's how I
somebody?
learned. I know.
Right, people are not bad
Mhm.
because they do it. And that's like
Exactly. But
we
that's what I
now know
learned.
that. Yeah. And that's
Mhm.
what we were how we were raised. That was
Mhm.
it. It was not a you have one drink with dinner. It was you were an alcoholic if you had a drink with dinner.
Yeah.
Um you didn't smoke pot, just to experiment or just to, to get a high. You were an addict. Like
Mhm.
that was the whole how we were raised, the mindset we were I'm gonna just keep
Mhm.
saying it, we were trained under, not raised, we were
Yeah.
trained under that mindset. And
Trained.
it's
Yes, training is a better.
to be very
Mhm.
judgmental, to be very like uh, rigid and strict
Mhm.
and very like n- that's why tattoos were bad. Like you can't reverse that. Like so
We learned that there were a certain set of behaviors, and if you did any of these behaviors, it immediately disqualified you as a good person.
and a good Christian. Like
Se-
you the
Seriously,
shame and the guilt. Yeah.
you couldn't reconcile. you were not, as a Christians, we were taught, trained, you cannot reconcile that. They cannot be a good Christian and be this thing. They can't be a good person and do one of these things.
Mhm.
That totally messes with you.
And it stops
And
you
that's
from experiencing life. It stops you from
yes.
trying new things because you are literally
Yes.
trained to do the thing. You are given a list and of
Mhm.
instructions, and you are trained that you wear these clothes and you do these things, and you're supposed to
Mhm.
believe these things, and you're supposed to think this way. And so you when you are presented with new opportunities, if you're presented with
Mhm.
new experiences like drinking or smoking or whatever, you
Mhm.
are trained, you think, no, that is bad. So it stops you from all of those things, which is
Yep.
why when you deconstruct your faith, you start I'm yeah, I can only speak for myself, but I'm seeing a lot of people do this that are our age who are leaving the church. They're going through the experimental phase that we never got the chance to do. We're
Mhm.
getting the tattoos and we're drinking the things and we're smoking the things and
Mhm.
we're
We're trying the
wearing the
new things.
clothes. We're
Yeah.
trying the new things. We're taking chances, and it's all like, oh, well, they're going through a midlife crisis. No, what we're
Mm.
doing is we're discovering the person. And it's not even like rediscovering ourselves or going back because we never knew who that person was. So
We
what we're
didn't. We
doing
never
now is, and Sean's doing it, I'm doing it, is we are
Mhm.
finding out who we are because we never got that opportunity. Like Sean and I've
It
discussed it. Just be
Mhm.
yourself. Who are you? What do you want? And literally,
What does that
Sean
mean?
sat there in
Mhm.
silence. He's like, I don't know. Like, I don't
It's
know.
shattering. Your world shatters when you realize that your identity when I realized my identity was based on all these things that I had been taught when I was younger, these people that I were taught to avoid and not associate with, that I have been gaslighting myself for all these years. And then it's like everything you do and everything you think and every preference you have, you go, is that my preference or was I taught that preference? Is that my personality or is it what I've been told is my personality? Yeah. That will completely turn you upside down.
Well, and it does. And weed actually, smoking, not a big deal for me. Alcohol, drank
Mhm,
since I was, a teenager. So it wasn't that big a deal. It was
mhm,
like sex. I was having sex before marriage. So those were things that I knew
mhm,
I was when I was in the church. Marijuana was that thing for me. That was the we don't touch it. I don't touch it. And
mhm.
then I
Yep.
dated a guy and I finally was like, I had left college and
Mhm,
I was a little lost, and by a little I mean
mhm,
devastatingly lost. I had no idea what I was
mhm,
going to do, what was happening in my life. So I said, "Fuck it." I was out of the church at that point. I said, "Fuck it. I'm going to do it."
mhm.
Realized it wasn't that bad. Oh, I could take it or leave it.
What?
I know, right? And so
What? Mean you didn't immediately go do something crazy and terrible?
I know, right? Like
What?
allegedly.
I mean, there's
um
no evidence of it anyway.
no, there is no. But I remember learning that it wasn't a big that was one of the things. It's like, "Oh, it's not a big deal and it makes me feel good." And
Mhm.
I'm still me. I'm not some crazy homeless trash person. I just like how it makes me feel. Like, what?
Mhm. Yep. We were taught the extremes.
Mhm.
Do not do this thing because of an extreme. It's like being taught that you don't drive a car because you could be in a life-threatening car accident. It's if you do drugs, you will become this thing. It will ruin your life. So you should just avoid it at all costs. There's no nuance to it. And it's so bad that one of the things that I grew up that governed a lot of how I was taught was a group called, some of you, this may trigger some of you, Focus on the Family. It's been around for many, many years. If you don't know the name Focus on the Family, you might know Dr. James Dobson. Why does this matter? Because even on their website, when they talk about, there's an article on their website that talks about the viciousness of drug addiction and alcohol addiction. The opening line, the opening paragraph is a story about a guy named Kevin who got high. Someone suggested they should play Russian roulette, and because he was high, he thought it would be a good idea to play Russian roulette, and it ended up ruining his life. That's the leap that they make in this organization does that. That's what we were taught. You do this thing and it will destroy you.
What are your feelings towards the harder drugs like powder or meth? This can be played around with. Or there's these two misconceptions. No, and that's why we sort of save this towards the end because it
Yeah.
is a slippery slope. Addiction is that we do not support things that are illegal. Now, marijuana is legal both medically and recreationally in
Mhm.
most
It at all is very dangerous to you. So we're not saying, "Oh, just go out and do the drugs, you'll be fine."
I just
What?
flickered. Are we still on? My
No, I think
Streamlabs.
no, I think we just went bye-bye.
Well, it says
I don't
still
see
live
anything on.
though.
Nope, wait, there we go.
Yeah, my Streamlabs flickered. It was weird.
Yeah, no, you're still here. You're still here.
Okay. I don't know.
So,
So that's what we're saying. The country is starting, just like liquor, the country is starting to understand the levels of marijuana use.
no sound?
Of course. Hold on.
Yeah, I don't hear any sound either.
I don't know what to do because.
Does Streamlabs show you have sound um, in your audio? Go up to
Yeah.
your stream. Go up to the gear icon and are going out streaming. They're still set.
Mm-hmm. Mm,
That's weird.
mm-hmm.
Hmm. I can still hear you. You can still hear me.
Mm-hmm.
Nearly. Uh,
I wonder what happens if I do
huh.
this.
Yeah, you really like it, but you never wanna know.
I don't know because we technically have sound. Oh well. Okay.
But they can't hear us. All right. Well, that's a good place to wrap up then. I mean, we don't have sound, so what are we gonna do? Unless we want to start it over again, but we're already near the end of it.
Yeah.
That is so odd.
I know. It's fine.
It's like Streamlabs just stopped sending the sound out.
Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. What if
Okay.
we went to dual chat instead of Nana and PepPep? Can you hear us
Okay.
now?
Let's see what happens.
I wonder if they can hear us on a different scene.
I'm waiting for it to switch. Actually, it looks like it completely froze.
Oh, fantastic. All right.
Uh,
We're ending this shit.
yeah, we're frozen. It looks like.